Well, what are your observations with what's going on currently in the hush money trial? When you talk about non-disclosures, when we're talking about there's gag orders against Trump, he's talking about his First Amendment rights to speak, and also Stormy Daniels is talking about the fact that she was trying to sell her story in this catch and kill scheme. So there's a lot of talk about what we can talk about, what can't be talked about, that seems to follow Trump in Trump world in terms of his actions and also in all of these cases. What are your thoughts on what's going on with the trial in terms of Stormy Daniel, Karen McDougal, and the idea that, there's deny, 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 and there's attempts to suppress conversation or speech on both sides? I know it's kind of a broad question, but I'm just interested in what you're thinking when you watch this trial and think of any parallels to your experience.
It's fascinating. For a good while after we were done with litigating against Trump World, we stopped. And yet early on, when we started this litigation, I just threw up a website. My team threw up a website, trumpsnda.com. I think it's still up. And we've invited people to send us the different variations of the NDA, because it was a campaign NDA and a White House NDA and an NDA that governed his personal relationships and the catch and kill stuff. And so we had a profile basically about McDougal and Stormy and everybody. And it opened up doors to conversations with Michael Cohen and Avenatti and all of these folks who didn't know me from Adam until all of a sudden Forbes and the Wall Street Journal and everybody's talking about this First Amendment case between Trump and Omarosa. And it's a fascinating area of litigation, and one that I love, because certainly there are times, employees of mine, we do have some level of NDA. We deal with attorney-client privilege and celebrity clients, and I don't want them to go spill information out on the streets or to tabloids. But on the same token, they can be too restrictive. If my employees want to say, I think he was a pompous ass, so be it. Like I'm not so sensitive, but Trump was. And so not only was he oversensitive and still is, but he had meddlings with a lot of illegal and unethical behavior. And so when you deal in the shady world of things, I'm probably going to get sued for this, but when you deal with the shady world of things, you need lawyers like Michael Cohen and NDAs and catch and kill agreements. I don't think most of them were ethical, and particularly as it relates to that trial with use of campaign finance abuses. It's an hour-long conversation to even talk about all the amount of money that was spent in red hat campaign donations to fight lawsuits and to hire lawyers. Like it's never before happened. I don't know that level will ever happen again, but it's the nature of who Trump is.
Yeah, that's part of what's the prosecutors are attempting to draw an arrow from to the election interference claims, the fact that he is trying to suppress any type of negative news, any type of negative information that might have gotten out about him when he was campaigning. And of course, Stormy Daniels' testimony is part of that they're trying to say that the hush money was intended to in furtherance of this broad election interference conspiracy, which would be the felony counts that they're really seeking. It's interesting that you're saying that part of his playbook is to suppress anything negative that could come out about him, whether it was related to his political aspirations or I guess his personal business. Or do you believe that a lot of this over the years has compounded because of politics? Or is this just something he's always, as far as you know, something he's has always done in terms of non-disclosure agreements and trying to prevent negative press to come out against him?
So, some of this comes from me being inexperienced and wanting to win a high profile case, but and then I got to put it on a timesheet, right? But that hopefully one day I would get paid, and it was. But on my timesheet, there was reading Art of the Deal. And in Trump's book, Art of the Deal, he talks about, weaponized litigation. And historically, and I was writing a blog on it, historically, under English common law, the rich were the only ones legally allowed to hire lawyers. And they know how to weaponize litigation, even though now everybody can hire a lawyer. And in fact, this country's gotten it right that we provide indigent attorneys. But everything was weaponized. In the case against Omarosa, the whole point was to shut her up during the election period. And it worked to some extent. He didn't, at the end of the day, the fact that campaign donations had to pay off an attorney's fee, I don't think they cared. They got her to be quiet, and that was, the means justified the end, as you kick the can down the road of how it's all going to be paid for, with all of these cases. And it was important for Stormy Daniels not to come out and tell her full story, and it did work for a while. And so I do think it's at his core who he is. And he told us that, with Art of the Deal, it's directly in there about how to weaponize, lawyers and your allies to maim, destroy, or silence your enemies.